Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Warriors of Chaos led by KHOLEK Suneater and the Greenskins who are going to be led by the Baconator. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So here in the front line, we do have a combination of some lower tier troops. So unfortunately I had to cut some corners. I do have KHOLEK, I also have a caster on a horse, and then we also have an exalted hero on a manticore, which I think has a really good niche in this matchup. He has pretty good, well not armor piercing, but good weapon strength, decent combat stats with 55 melee attack, causes terror, very good at taking out like goblin big bosses, Warzog, stuff like that. So we do have the exalted hero, but again, that's all very expensive. So we did have to cut corners a little bit in our infantry line. We have two groups of the Chaos Marauders with great weapons on the wings, because typically you're going to see Black Orcs in this matchup. Black Orcs are just so damn good. They're immune to psychology, so they're not going to be terror-routed by KHOLEK and by the Manticore. They have great armor piercing against Chosen. They're just a very solid pick. So having the great opens here, pretty important. We do have two groups of Chosen with great opens here in the middle. And as you guys saw probably in some of those testing videos a while back, the Chosen do indeed beat the Black Orcs, even with the WA. So they're pretty substantial there in the front line. Definitely a solid anchor to the Chaos Army. And yeah, that's pretty much it for our main line. We do have some Chaos Knights with lances here. Just have to make sure they don't get hit with like FG of the Git, and then, you know, a foot of Gork can be very, very punishing to a group of Chaos Knights. But if they're able to get into the back line, get some very good charges, they have relatively low armor piercing. But again, Greenskins have so many lightly armored targets. You have Rusty Airs, Goblin Archers, Orc Boarboy Biggins don't have the best armor. And if you get in with an erect charge bonus of 80 with that 46 weapon strength, man, it is so good and tasty. So we have those guys there. A couple groups of standard marauders on the flanks. So these guys are just going to be going up and around, dealing with skirmishers, fighting goblins, that kind of stuff. KHOLEK definitely, I think, is the best choice in this matchup. He's very tough to deal with. He's heavily armored. Greenskins can use Goblin Big Boss charging plus FG at the Git and Goblin Archer pressure, but he's still... KHOLEK is just always tough to deal with for the Greenskins, in my opinion. We've got the Manticore, like I said. We do have a Shadowcaster, so if we do have the Enfeebling Foe and the Melkoth Mystifying Miasma, I think. Yeah, we got Melkoth as well as the Pendulum, which is really good against Black Orcs. And we also have some skirmishing. So we have two groups of the Marauder Horsemasters, very good against Greenskin skirmishers. They have 90 range compared to the 100 of Goblin Wolfrider Archers, but nonetheless, they have pretty good combat stats. They do a lot more damage and definitely put some pressure on the Greenskins. That's it for my force. For my opponent, he also has a very, very solid Greenskin army. He's got 4 Goblin Spider Riders, 2 groups on the flanks. They're a great counter-skirmishing unit. Like, against the Marauder Horsemasters, they have shields, they have poison, they have high melee defense. Definitely very good for chasing down these type of units. On top of that, he has a front line of 4 Black Orcs, which is very solid. I definitely agree with that pick. He does have the Rusty Airs and a couple groups of Orc Airboys, because Orc Airboys actually do have better armor piercing. Some Night Goblin Archers as well for additional poison. Nasty Skulkers on both flanks, but he has a lot of skirmishers. He actually has Goblin Wolf Riders, Wargob's Manging Marauders. Let's see, yeah, like a 3 in total, I think. Does he have another one back here? I don't think so. Anyways, Warzog is going to be leading the army. Foot of Gork, and Brain Breasted. So going with a very DPS heavy build here, definitely could be a little bit scary getting that Foot of Gork on my knights if we're not careful. And he does have 2 Goblin Big Bosses, which is also quite standard. So definitely a very solid build. Going to be pretty scary. So guys, let's get this show on the road. So right now, some very solid skirmishing out of the gates for the Chaos Horsemasters here. We're able to get some solid damage there on the Goblin Wolf Riders. Actually, did we break them? No, they're actually just shaken. He does come out of the forest here with his Forest Goblin Spider Riders, and he also gets some decent returning fire from the Wolf Riders, who do have better range. So the Goblin Wolf Riders, or the Goblin Spider Riders coming in here, and I do have the Chaos Knights kind of mixing through the ranks. I'm not sure. Yeah, he does react there at the last second, because that would have just been so bad for him if the Chaos Knights had got in there. I'm in a little bit of a dangerous situation. KHOLEK's taking a lot of skirmish damage, which is not what I want. But we'll be using the Marauder Horsemasters to counter skirmish a little bit, keeping them honest. But we do actually get that engagement here. So the Chaos Knights just going balls deep into those Forest Goblin Spider Riders, doing a massive amount of damage, taking almost none in return, up to 15 or 16 kills. So definitely quite happy with that so far. He does get a Brain Burster right there. Does a little bit of damage, nothing to write home about. But here we do get a Lord of the Storm on those Black Orcs, which takes out 10 models, which is a ton of damage. I mean, it did okay HP damage, but the model count, taking out that many is solid. Also, a Pendulum's going to be going down, so we have a Pendulum going right down the formation of the Black Orcs. Didn't do as much as I thought it would, but still, it's not terrible. He does get an effigy and a Foot of Gork actually on my my missile units here. So wow, that did a ton of damage. My Marauder Horsemasters here just being absolutely punished. So now, my opponent kind of has the advantage in the skirmishing game. Like, I was able to contend a little bit, but now I really can't. These guys are broken off. The Chaos Knights, in the meantime, are going to be running up into the forest, and I will start cycle charging the goblins and hitting whatever I can. But thankfully, I do have that tree line up there to help me protect against all this missile pressure. So KHOLEK's in the front, a little bit sloppy by me. I was leaving out there just so he could react and maybe hit Warzog or something, but he does take a little bit of missile damage. Yeah, probably loses about 500 or 600 HP, but the Greenskins are just kind of, waiting because they can. I'm trying to counter skirmish with what I have left, but the Marauder Horsemasters are just so damn beat up. But in the meantime, I get a huge charge, so the Chaos Knights come through the forest. And they're able to just ramshackle these goblins and just run them down. That charge bonus is very, very impactful here, and the goblins definitely not happy about this. So if we look, I believe these are the unbreakable goblins, so it's not going to be like the end of the world for them, but they are down to 90 models. One more charge like that will put them down like just to the point of being relatively ineffective. So another pendulum coming down. That one was overcasted, so I get quite a bit of value against the black orcs. You can see he was moving those, and it looks like he's going to be advancing his army. We got some decent value against the black orcs with the Lord of the Storm and the pendulum, so definitely quite happy about that, but I feel like I'm still pretty outgunned as it pertains to the infantry fight, because he's going to be popping Wah, the Black Orcs. There's 4 of them to my 2 Chosen. They're easily going to be able to monster mash the Marauders on the flanks, and it's definitely going to be pretty scary. So the Knight's just hiding in the trees. He is turning some Night Goblin Archers, has Warzog over there as well, so I need to be very careful about that. And now he's getting some pretty good fire here into my Chaos Marauders. So KHOLEK's going to be charging into the front line, a little bit risky. I know Effigy of the Git, I'm pretty sure it was on cooldown here, so I felt a little bit safe, charging in and then just pulling back, but I took a lot of fire. I wanted to get a Lord of the Storm back here, and I get it here on some of these Orc Air Boys. The Chosen have engaged in the front line, so the Chosen are going to be fighting the Black Orcs. They also have the support of some of these Marauders. It looks like a Brain Buster going down on the far side. Definitely pretty cool seeing that in effect here. And I did notice he had some Skulkers defending his flanks, so I wasn't able to get into the cookie jar with my Knights. I was super disappointed, but we do have a bit of a route we can run. So Chaos Knights can rear charge these Night Goblins. They can sweep up and through here and probably outmaneuver those Skulkers. In the meantime, my Exalted Hero as well as KHOLEK, now that they've kind of gotten their bearings, are going to be attacking Warzog. So he's definitely a very juicy target. He's relatively fast with 77 speed, but KHOLEK is actually faster with 78 and 85 on the Manticore. So the Manticore gets in there and does some huge damage against Warzog. In the flanks, we have our Marauders charging some of those Skulkers. I think I was actually trying to path through, but it was an inadvertent charge there. So a bit of a mistake on my part here, but it is what it is. In the front line, Chosen with Grey Weapons are mulching through the Black Orcs, so that was going quite well, but a very good effigy from my opponent when I was trying to get Warzog. Double Goblin Big Boss coming in. Things are starting to get a little bit crazy, but that's why this Manticore is so good, because normally if KHOLEK was your only source of pressure on Warzog, he can be stopped like this, right? This is exactly what you want to do. Very beautiful play from my opponent here, using the Goblin Big Bosses to shut down KHOLEK. And another Brain Buster, which is going to trigger the Bonewood Staff. But nonetheless, we're able to maneuver with KHOLEK, run up and through my troops. So I knew that would pin up the Goblin Big Bosses because they don't have enough mass to push through Chosen that easily. And now we're able to isolate Warzog a little bit. So the Manticore was able to corral him. I have my Caster as well. KHOLEK's going in there. We have a ton of stuff chasing him down, potentially going to do a ton of damage. So we do get Melkoth's Misfire Miasma on him, which is going to slow his speed down to 48, just buttering that bread, buttering that croissant. Things are going pretty good there. Bounce power is even, a little bit in my opponent's favor. He does have this missile line to the back, but the Chaos Knights have gotten in, so I didn't really get to show you guys, but I've just been bouncing back and forth, cycle charging archers this entire game with the Chaos Knights when I did that frontal maneuver that you guys saw. So the Chaos Knights with Lances are able to distract the Night Goblins. They're breaking the Rusty Arrows. I basically have them fighting like 3 targets at once. Marauder Horsemen in the back also get into the Archers, which is taking all the pressure off KHOLEK right now, which is exactly what I needed. And now KHOLEK is able to just give Warzog the business. Warzog is at about, what, 683 HP right there. Down to 342 from that attack on KHOLEK. But KHOLEK's being attacked pretty heavily by the Goblin Big Bosses. But, in situations like this, you're not going to get away from 2 big bosses. So you basically just want to fight. We do shatter Warzog with just all that pressure coming in. And now KHOLEK might as well fight to the death because he still is pretty tanky, right? 52 melee defense, 100 armor. And I also have the Manticore in here, so the Exalted Hero, definitely one of the MVPs in this matchup. He's able to chase down that Goblin Big Boss, who is slippery, does a bunch of damage there, and it looks like the other Goblin Big Boss is going to be running off as well. So he's going to be squealing into the distance. And yeah, we're able to get the big bosses. So for the first time in the game, we do pull ahead on the Bounce of Power. Black Orcs are still fighting in the pits, but the Chosen definitely performing very well against the Black Orcs with the support of the Shadow Magic and the Melkoths. But I would say the Chaos Knights have been the MVP so far, 184 kills. They've been single-handedly just trolling this back line. They have shields, so they're very durable against the skirmishers. I mean, they're finally getting worn down to like 600, 500 HP, but nonetheless, definitely paying for themselves here. So the Knights charging in there. The Greenskin Hordes are still, peppering them up pretty good. So this is our last kind of pocket of strength, which I hesitate to call it that because the Chosen are so beat up here. 35 Black Orcs, there's some Skulkers here. We're doing our best. The Manticore, I believe I was trying to chase off something or other. Where was the Manticore going? I think I was going after like a Goblin Big Boss. But Warzog's now off the battlefield. KHOLEK's in a little bit of a bad situation though. 600 HP. And even though my opponent is behind on the Bounce of Power, if KHOLEK goes down, it could certainly be something that's going to be much closer. So here, these Chosen are going to be chasing off the Goblins. These Chosen are going to be fighting just to the bitter end against these Black Orcs here. Hopefully they'll be able to do pretty well in this engagement. Chosen just have such good combat stats. I do wish they were immune to psychology, though. I don't know. I wonder if that would be overpowered if they were. Something to debate there. But anyways, in the back line, the Exalted Hero on the Manticore is going to be flying about, going after whatever scraps he can find. KHOLEK is he's back in the mix here, but you know he is low, 500 HP. He's getting some fire, and the Morgups and Ancient Marauders aren't slouches in melee. I mean they're pretty bad, but I mean KHOLEK is so low that it doesn't really matter. They actually break him, which was pretty scary. I was like, oh no, is he going to get back into this game here? You can see the Exalted Hero in the back is able to tear up those Orc Air Boys. They're undoubtedly going to break here in a moment, and this fight's still going on. But the Chosen and the Shadowcaster are slowly winning this engagement. We have Marauders helping out. But KHOLEK actually gets hunted down by the Goblin Big Boss, which was really unfortunate. So you can see my opponent here chases KHOLEK through the woods. He's going to get him, like, for sure. I'm pretty sure KHOLEK actually rallies here, and I don't notice. It's a little bit unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I don't think he has the stopping power to kill the Manscore. I mean, the Manscore still has 3,000 HP, Fear and Terror. It's a greenskin army that's very, like, you know, tattered here. KHOLEK does get actually rallied, but he gets taken down by just the hordes and the Goblin Big Boss. So the mighty Dragon Ogre Shaggoth falling to the Goblin hordes in the forest. A very dignified way to go. But the Exalted Hero will probably replace him on the army roster, and he's going to be chasing him down and routing off these greenskins. That's going to be all she wrote. So it was definitely a fun game, very close. The heavy infantry corps of the Black Orcs was quite stressful to fight against. Yeah, I really was not expecting that Foot of Gork on my Horse Masters. And I mean, their combined cost is about, what, 1,500, give or take? So, I mean, like, arguably, like, maybe using it on the Chaos Knights with an effigy is a little bit better. But if you're going to use the effigy on KHOLEK, for example, which I think is a very good target, I think that was worth it and almost pretty much won him the game hands down. I think the Foot of Gork, like, surprise, I was not expecting that. I wasn't even looking for it. So I think that was a really solid play that basically shut down my skirmish game and really got rid of some tools that I think I needed quite a bit. But getting into the back line with the Chaos Knights was huge. And just disrupting like 3 archers at once, that basically saved KHOLEK and allowed me to kill Wurzog before the final stages of the game there. So the Chosen with great weapons definitely quite solid, 85-94. The Black Orcs are always just beast. I mean, my opponent's build was solid and he played solid. It was just it was an incredibly close game. So this was one of 2 games I'm going to be showing you guys in this video. We actually played another game on ladder after this where I try a pretty fun build. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to be jumping over to the second game. It was against Modern Savagery again. We actually ran into each other a couple times. So big thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing KHOLEK versus the Greenskins here, and we'll see you guys in just a moment. All right, guys, and now we're back with the second game, which is going to feature a showdown between the Lizard People, led by Jabba the Hutt, and the Vampire Counts, who are going to be led by the Lord of Baldness. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So guys, I really wanted to try something very experimental. I've never tried this build before. It was one of the first builds, but kind of the school of thought is that I'm going to get 2 Bastillodons with solar engines, put them on opposite sides of the map, and just fight with heavy monsters, using Jabba the Hutt on Zlok to use his AoE spells to kill the Vampire Count's blob, which is going to inevitably form around him. Also use some Pterodon Riders with the Fire Leech Bolus to try and take out the Mortis engines. We do have the double Saurus Scar veterans to help fight the Terrorgeist and Manfred Goon Squad here. So just a disclaimer, I don't think this is the optimal way to fight the Vampire Counts, but again, I think it has some punch here. We do have the means of killing the Mortis engine. We have some anti-large for the Terrorgeists. And of course, who doesn't want to see Jabba the Hutt actually on his full palanquin, his full throne, which includes Locke here. So that's pretty much it for my army. Not much of a summary there, just the 2 Bastillodons for my opponent. A pretty competitive army for sure. Manfred and Double Terrorgeist, very good against big dinos. He's got the Mortis Engine and Graveguard to fight against Saurus Warriors. So yeah, quite excited to see how this goes here. So anyways, he's going to be flying forward. Manfred is going to be taking some shots from the Bastillodon. The other one is going to be shooting in at the Mortis Engine. And I did bring the Fire Leech Bolas because they actually do fire damage, as you would expect, which does a little bit of a bonus versus the Mortis Engine, which is vulnerable to fire. So the toughest part is going to be kind of like, you know, I think we can kill the Mortis Engine and get some pretty good value with, you know, Jabba the Hutt getting into the infantry. But at the double Terrorgeist, I mean, yes, I do have the Scar Vets, but it's kind of like similar to the Chaos matchup in that they always get the charge off and you have to take the charge, right? So he gets a big 3v1 chubby charge right here on my Saurus Scar Veteran. I turn around to fight. I was trying to reposition behind Jabba, but it's still pretty tough. So I pop a net right there in the back, and it actually does catch them. So I get a nice net. My 2 Saurus Scar Vets are going to be fighting. We get some really good damage against Manfred, actually. So I was quite happy with that. And I do pop the shield of the old ones in case Manfred wanted to use like Spirit Leech or anything like that. Ruination of Cities is going to be going down as well, and you can see the Bastillodon shooting in there. And Ruination decided not to go off for some reason. Maybe something canceled the cast. And you can see that the Pterodon Riders right here are going to be providing some Overwatch fire here on the Mortis Engine. So another shot coming in. Unfortunately, a wide miss from that Bastillodon. We still have this pit fight. Manfred takes a ton of damage. And my Scar Vet also took a lot of damage. But again, he kind of has me isolated here. The zombies have really mucked up my forces. And he's getting a lot of like heavy pressure on this Terrorgeist or the Saurus Scar Vet. I'm going to be pulling him back and around. I have the spears poking as well, but the Vampire Count's definitely quite solid at hunting down these type of targets with the double Terrorgeist. So Manfred's back up in the skies. We got a lot of damage, but again, I'm kind of isolated here. I'm trying to path through with my troops. Jabba, as well as the other Tsar Scarvet, are trying to chase, but I'm just trying to run laps, just doing that Benny Hill theme. A great banishment going down. So the banishment just so good and tasty. It does a ton of damage against those Graveguard right there, and we're also killing the Mortis Engine, which I'm quite happy about. The Pterodon's definitely putting on some decent pressure here. On the flank, the Saurus Spheres have engaged against some Graveguard as well as some zombies to allow this Bastillodon to keep firing. Bastillodon is shooting in against Manfred, but Manfred gets a really good invocation of the heck. So all that damage I did to Manfred was kind of mitigated here, and he's been putting so much pressure on my Saurus Scarvet that I really haven't had time to get like Cold Bloods off or things like that that are really going to top me off. So in the meantime, we do have Jabba the Hutt and his buddy. They're going to be attacking Manfred, and he's getting really close to his healing cap, so we've had some decent trades. Despite that, I think my opponent has come out ahead. The Saurus Scarvet getting chased off the battlefield is a huge bummer. Although we do get the Mortis Engine at the same time, Ruination of Cities just absolutely shrekking most of his army here. So the strategy in some ways is working out relatively efficiently. We have killed the Mortis Engine, we've killed most of his infantry, but again, it's really going to come down to the big monsters, whereas had I gone with like a more traditional build with like Temple Guard and some other supporting elements and maybe Chameleons to poke his flying lords, it might be a little bit tougher for him to snipe out my big characters. But anyways, Lord Mazamudi right here is going to be fighting. Again, surrounded, I popped the shield of the old ones just in case he has Spirit Leech, but I don't think he actually brought it. He just went with Manfred for the regeneration, so it was just kind of my instincts. We do kill the Mortis Engine, so that was pretty good. I'm pulling back the Bastillodon here, so this guy's pulling back here, this guy's pulling back here, trying to use these Saurus Spheres, who are actually doing really well versus the Graveguard. I was surprised that they're like dealing with the Graveguard and the zombies that efficiently. And we do have the Pterodon Riders just throwing their bolas at, I believe we were going after Manfred. I mean, he's not the best target for those things, but again, it does add up, and he's going to be one of the biggest threats. So he does, again, isolate one of my Saurus Scarvets. He has this huge blob of infantry here. And we have the Bastillodons. It looks like they're throwing some spears. I mean, Manfred is at his healing cap, so there's a chance that we could potentially take him out. But losing that Scarvet that early was a huge mistake on my part. I think it was a little bit sloppy. Had I kept him higher and tighter, and maybe you really have to like zoom in closer to the fighting and like make sure your targets are fighting the appropriate targets. Because like I think I was targeting Manfred with all three of my troops trying to kill him, whereas like Manfred was kind of obstructed by two of the Terrorgeists there. So I think it was really an inefficient engagement for my Saurus Scarvets. I do get the Cold Blood. I'm also maneuvering, which I'm basically just trying to buy time while I kill the rest of his ground forces here. And also we do have that Overwatch fire coming in from the Bastillodon with the Solar Engine. So the Solar Engines, I think I have this one's online as well. I'm trying to get it away, but the zombies and chaff units are basically just trolling it. The Scarvet's definitely got some moves. He's able to run and juke, but there is just so much pressure. I mean, Manfred and Double Terrorgeist, they're poisoning him. They're dragging him down. You can see here, just all kinds of debuffs going. It's definitely unfortunate. So Zlok is in okay shape. He's able to kill the zombies. I mean, there really isn't much left on the ground for the Vampire Counts. They do have some Graveguard over here and some zombies, and the Mortis Engine is dead as well, which is a very nice grab, but I feel like we don't have the stopping power to kill the big guys. You can see the bounce power here is starting to slip a little bit. So Jabba the Hutt is fighting just against some of the chaff units, and he is going to be getting Manfred out on the flanks. So I pop an Arcane Unforging on him, which I probably should have done earlier, like when he wanted to get those indications, but I was using the Winds of Magic to try and net him down instead. He does take a blast directly to the back there from the other Laser Dino, and Manfred only has 70 armor, so the low AP on the Bastillodons definitely isn't that big of a deal, but Manfred definitely going to be pretty good against this guy out here. So Zlok wants to be the hero that Gotham needs, so he's going to be charging through right now, trying to get on Manfred, but he's being attacked by the Terrorgeist. There's so much nasty business going on. The other Terrorgeist as well is going to be going after the Bastillodon, which is a very, very good target for my opponent here. But regardless, Manfred's in a little bit of trouble, and Zlok's coming for that booty. So right here, Jabba the Hutt does charge in there, get some pretty good damage on Manfred, and Manfred's down to actually 700 HP, and it looks like we might be able to get him. So Jabba the Hutt's coming in, the Pterodons are charging in, and down goes Manfred. So Manfred does fall, and he's going to be trampled under the girth of Zlok here, which is always pretty cool. So definitely some good stuff, but nonetheless, I don't think that Jabba the Hutt with his Pterodons are going to be able to do enough, and I really feel like the Solar Engines weren't necessary. I think the Pterodon Riders with the Fire Leech Bolas could have just killed the Mortis Engine by themselves. And we could have just brought some more like substantial protective elements, like some Skinks with poison, or some Temple Guard with halberds to fight on top of. I think that would have been really efficient. Anyways, the Banishment's coming down right here. It's going to be hitting the back line. Trying my best to get back in this game. We're just roasting some of these guys, and it does some pretty good work against like the zombies and the chaff and stuff. So, but really, I mean, we can't stop the Terrorgeist. There's only one here, so that's the reason why this is going okay. If you look over here, though, the other Terrorgeist is coming back, and they're just going to give Jabba the Hutt the business. But yeah, there isn't much left. I mean, there's just a couple infantry groups, Graveguard, things like that, but I wanted to see if it was something similar, right? I've seen builds like that with the Empire where they put like cannons on different corners of the map, and you experiment, and like, they have to like go to each one, and when they're chasing one, they're taking fire from the other, but I don't think it worked as well here. That or my execution was also just poor. But I really do think traditional Lizardman builds, Saurus Garvets are definitely pretty good, but you can use like Temple Guard and stuff like that. Kind of similar to like how Chaos plays it, but I think the Lizardmen definitely have a better matchup versus the Vampire Counts than Chaos does. But very well played to my opponent. That's pretty much going to be it. Jabba the Hutt is going to get hunted. He's going to go eat some Doritos and drink some Mountain Dew to recover. That's going to be all she wrote. So very well played to my opponent. I definitely probably wouldn't recommend that build. I'm glad we learned something, though. I do think that the Fire Leech Bulls bring a little bit against the table if you're expecting Mortis Engine play. But again, if you didn't bring the Mortis Engine, they just would have been kind of useless. Although they did get a ton of kills against the lower tier troops. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of like this whole school here. I mean, I might not have executed it great, but I do think that just using like Temple Guard and a wider Lizardman force is going to be pretty good. Although Graveguard and Mortis Engines wreck Saurus front line, so there is some give and take there. But Banishment Lock definitely does a ton against the Graveguard and like the density of the Vampire Counts infantry. But yeah, I gotta get back to that. I feel like Lizardmen is one of the factions I've really like kind of slipped on. I used to be pretty good at them when Warhammer 2 came out, but I really need to kind of re-explore them as a faction. But very well played to my opponent, Modern Savagery. His Terrorgeist play, his splitting was really good. Manfred, his timings were great. It was just it was a really, really fun game. So big thanks, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will see you guys next time. Have an excellent night, and take care.